I'm Dr. Angela McBrearty of DoctorFlute.com, and today I'm reviewing the Zhao 400 series flute. Now, this flute has come to me from the Flute Center of New York, and if you're interested in trialing a flute because you're in the market for a new flute, Flute Center is really a fantastic place to go. Their inventory is fabulous. You can get any flute you're looking for with any head joint that you might be interested in. And if you use the code DoctorFlute, which in this case is DrFlute, you can get a few perks with that code. And one of those perks is having the instruments that you're using on trial for 10 days rather than 7, and you get free shipping. And there's some other things, but I just want to talk about having a flute for 10 days really allows you to get up close and personal with that instrument and learn what that instrument can do for you. As I've been playing this Zhao flute and playing this piece and playing that, just fooling around with different music and tonguing here and slurring there, I've realized that I'm warming up to this instrument. And that's really key when you're picking out an instrument, because the more you play on that instrument, the more you find out that flute's peculiarities. And those are both good and bad. When you use your embouchure and you change your embouchure on this head joint to work with it, to say, just because I have this embouchure doesn't mean that is the best for all the instruments. You do need to play around and move it up on your lip and down on your lip and angle down and angle up and just say, where do I get the most beautiful sound? So I will say that having that 10 days really helps you to learn what this flute can do for you. Now let's just talk about some specifics of this Zhao flute. It's a silver-plated body here and a solid silver head joint. And when you're looking for a step-up instrument, which this is a step-up flute, that solid silver head joint is key to getting the tone that you're looking for. The fact that this has a solid silver head joint and then the silver plated body is going to still give you that intermediate level sound, and even a better sound than that, a really fantastic sound. Solid silver head joint is key. A couple other things, when you look at this, you'll see that it has an offset G, which is here. It just means that this key is slightly offset. On my own flute, I do not have offset, and that means all these keys are in a straight line. Generally, this is thought of as better for your hand today, so that you don't have to have quite as severe of a bend in the wrist to cover that hole. And you can see that these have the plugs in them. It is an open hole flute. I've just left the plugs here primarily because I'm not used to having an offset G. So if I'm playing this instrument, I'm often I'm overshooting that key here. But it doesn't take long to adjust. All I have to do is play it for a little bit, and I would adjust to that, no problem. Another thing that you'll read about is that this has Y key arms here. And if you can see how the key is attached to the bar is a Y. We call that a Y. Now, that's as opposed to pointed key arms. And if I can show you for a second. So on my flute, if you look at the keys here, there's a little point here that comes and attaches that key over here. Okay, so that's a pointed key arm. These are Y key arms. And, really, I think that for a long, long time, pointed key arms were thought to be only on the high-end instruments, and the lesser instruments have the Y key arms here. But according to the research, because I didn't really know all the differences myself that I've done, in today's manufacturing processes, they have made the Y key arms really just as good as the pointed. So don't be confused when you see it says Y key arms. You're like, what's important about that? Well, it's a way of how they attach, and it can make your fingers settle on the keys in a certain way. Some say the pointed also affects tone quality. It's just preference. If you're good with this instrument, the Y or pointed on any of them, not really going to make a difference to you. So just say, well, it's got Y key arms, great. It's going to be a fine instrument, and if you like it, just beautiful. It has the B foot here. My daughter, who has been playing her step-up flute for a little while, often when she goes to low C, overshoots and is hitting the B and can't get the low C because her finger's on the B, but that just takes a little bit of adjusting. This is called a Gizmo, and what it does, it allows you to play the low B without putting down all of these keys. And sometimes on a 4th octave D, that works better to use that key rather than putting these all down. So that's just a sort of extended technique kind of key. It doesn't probably affect the general player. All right, now let's play a little bit. So what I played at the beginning was Marin Murray's the Folio de España, and I'm going to play that again. There's a little bit of high notes, a little bit of tonguing, and I want to feel how does the flute respond. All right, so it's not about my fingers here. We'll talk about that later. I want to feel how does the tone respond to my articulations. Now, I think that it was responding really nicely. I feel like it's a little bit smaller of a tone quality than maybe what I would be looking for. But I think the tone that's coming out is beautiful. And if I had a student that was moving up to this step-up instrument, I think I would be very happy with the sound that they could generate from this. Let's see if I want volume. Nice. It has a beautiful forte sound, maybe as opposed to my flute. I have a gold riser, so that's going to sound different, but maybe my flute gets a little bit rounder sound, but I think that the crescendo, I can get a nice big full sound. Now, I'm going to tongue going down, and I'm going to listen to the resonance and how fast does the flute respond as I go towards my low C. Oh, it's beautiful. Now, if you have a hard time with your low register, sometimes it's because you're leaking a little bit down here. And a brand new flute like this is sealing beautifully. So the response is very nice. Now, let me try the upper register, the 3rd octave. Yeah, I think that's very nice. It's a very nice response up there. The quality of the sound is not too shrill. It's got a nice warmer quality up there. So I think that this flute is a great step-up instrument. Now, something that is on the plus side for this particular instrument, as far as step-up instruments go, it's probably the least expensive. So for a step-up instrument, this is great value. Great value. It's probably You know, silver is subject to change, so I don't want to give you the price of this instrument, but it's probably going to be less than $1,500, which a lot of the good step-up instruments are, you know, maybe a little bit less than $2,000 or in that $2,000 range. So this is considerably less than that. So I think that you would have a great instrument here for the price that you would be getting. You have the solid silver head joint, silver plated body, and a really nice tone. I can do everything that I want to do. I can make that tone be dark, and I can make it be lighter. It feels like it has a lot of possibilities. Now, I haven't talked about the mechanism, and that's important too when you're thinking about the right flute for you. It's not always about just the tone you're getting. So yes, this is an open hole flute. This one doesn't have the plug in it. I've just left the plugs in it because it's easier than losing those plugs. But the mechanism, how does it feel when you're playing? You want to play something fast to say, how do your fingers move on those keys? And I would say probably the downside that I feel with this is that the mechanism's a little bit clunky. I feel like it makes more noise than maybe some other step-up instruments. I don't think that's a make or break issue, but I think it's something that you need to address and think about. That's a louder sound, but just if I'm playing, for me, I like the keys to have no sound at all. And yes, step-up instruments aren't going to be as finely tuned as, say, you know, a $10,000, a $15,000 instrument, and that are handmade and everything works just fantastically beautiful. So, you know, I know we have to compare the right thing. And it's just maybe a little bit too clunky to get that quiet sound. So I would say that's just maybe a small drawback from this instrument. But again, if your price point is on the lower side, you know, don't let a mechanism that might be a little bit, and I'm not saying extremely, just a little bit clunky, keep you from purchasing this particular instrument. So if you are interested in a step-up instrument and you have a really tight budget, the Zhao 400 would probably work within your budget and would be a very good instrument for you to choose.